All right, good morning, everybody. We are in March. It's starting to feel like spring. Pretty excited about that. Hopefully, whatever big snow you all might have gotten is transitioning into a more fun springtime here. So I think you all know me, but I know you have a couple new folks. So I'm Stephanie Cavino. I am the program manager for the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. So we'll just pop around and introduce ourselves. Hillary, do you want to go next?
Sure, if I could find my mute button.
You got it.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Hillary King. I work for the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs in Massachusetts, and I'm the Central Regional Coordinator for the MVP Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. We fund municipalities to start climate change conversations and do action grant work. And I apologize, I'll only be here for like a half hour this morning. I wanted to come in and say hi to everybody.
That's okay. Thanks for joining us. Adam.
Adam Menard, I'm the town planner for the town of Auburn.
Thanks. Allison, a new face. Allison Perlman.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Perlman. I recently joined the Department of Fish and Game, the Division of Ecological Restoration. I'm the Restoration Partnership Program Manager. And again, I just started, but the program is a pretty exciting opportunity to think about restoration at the watershed scale and working in partnerships. Thanks for having me here today. Yeah,
thanks. And congratulations on the new position. We're all very excited that you're here. We've been talking about who's the new partnerships person. So it's great to have you there.
Thanks.
Thanks. Casey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Casey Merkel. I'm a project coordinator for the Rhode Island Flood Mitigation Association.
Thanks. Judy.
Oops, sorry about that. Couldn't figure out where my mouse was. Good morning, everyone. Judy Rondo with Mass DEP. I am the outreach coordinator for the non-point source section, which is located in the Watershed Planning Program.
Thanks. Ted.
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association, and my camera is kind of acting a little squirrely, so I may be turning it off, but I'll be here.
And Deb, if you're in a place to unmute, I know you said you're driving. Oh, we maybe lost Deb there, but Deb Carey is from Mass Audubon and works in the central region on advocacy. Heather.
Hi, I'm with the Blackstone River Coalition, and I'm the water quality monitoring program coordinator.
Thanks. Phyllis.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Charpentier, president of the Manchog Pond Foundation, and I'm pleased to report that we're working on our third 319 grant and thrilled with it. So thank you.
Judy and I were chatting about that before we started here. We're very excited about that, Phyllis. Good work.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Amanda.
I am Amanda Coffier, and I'm a lab tech at Upper Blackstone Clean Water.
Thanks for joining us today. Nathan.
There's my camera. Hello, I'm a student at WPI working on an IQP project, and we're working with the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative.
Thanks, Nate. Miriam.
Hi, everybody. I'm Miriam Al-Hakim. I'm also Nathan's partner. We're working with the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative on the project, on our IQP project. And I'm a biology and biotechnology major at WPI.
Thank you. Greg.
Hi, I'm Greg Dorschler. I'm the Worcester Intercollegiate Outdoors Initiative Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust.
Thank you. Kelly. Oh, we got Deb back. I introduced you, Deb. You're all set if you can't unmute. Kelly King.
Everyone, Kelly King, planner with Horsley Witten Group. I'll also be joined later on with another colleague, Peter O'Gonick, the engineer at Horsley Witten.
Thanks. Sarah Bauer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Bauer, Technical Specialist with Mass Rivers Alliance.
Thanks. Peter Coffin.
Hello, I'm Peter Coffin, the coordinator of the Blackstone River Coalition.
Thanks, Peter. Allison Hamill.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Hamill from Rhode Island DOT, the Environmental Stormwater Division.
Thanks. And Kate.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate McPherson, Save the Bay's Narragansett Bay River Keeper.
Thank you. Kay Denherter.
Hi, I'm Kay Denherter, member of the Uxbridge Board of Health.
Thank you. And David. David, it shows you're unmuted. I don't know.
Oh
if
yeah, I'm sorry. I was plugging my stuff in. David Tapscott, I'm also a member of the Uxbridge Board of Health and coordinating a current MVP project here, which involves dam removal.
Perfect, thanks. Mark. We can't.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark
There you are. Go ahead.
Nomorowski. I work for, technologically challenged here. I work for RIDOT in the environmental division with Allison. I oversee the illicit discharge program here.
Thank you. I was thinking it might be Nomorowski there. All right. Sarah Plotnicki.
Hello, everyone. I'm a junior resiliency planner at CMRPC.
Thanks. Heidi.
Morning, everyone. I'm Heidi Ritchie, Director of Policy and Advocacy at Mass Audubon.
Thank you. Patty. You're on mute currently, Patty.
Patty McAlpine, representing Blackstone Valley Tourism Council and myself.
Thank you. And I think
as well, but you know.
I think last, not least, Rebecca.
Hello, everybody. Rebecca Quinones with the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. I'm an aquatic ecologist and a climate change specialist.
Thank you. And did I miss anybody else?
Hi, this is Paul Popinchuk,
sorry.
50 Central Mass and Worcester Climate Collaborative. Thank you.
Thank you. I wrote your name down. I put a dot next to it, and then I didn't actually call on you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right. Let me just open up my notes here to get started. So we have presenters today. I'm trying to make it even in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And I will say that next month we do have a speaker from Massachusetts. We don't have someone from Rhode Island yet, if anyone would like to volunteer. But we will hand it over to our two speakers. I don't know, Casey or Judy, if either of you have a preference of who goes first.
I have a really short little presentation, not even a presentation, more so. So if Judy,
yeah, that
just
sounds
kind of
fine.
go through that. Okay.
All right. Sure. Yeah, mine's not too long either.
Okay. So Casey, you're welcome to share your screen anytime and talk about the Rhode Island Flood Mitigation Association.
Okay. I'll just use this as an opportunity to show everybody or direct everyone to our website, I guess, because that's what I've got for today. And I want to talk about some events that we have coming up. One that's particularly interesting for the Blackstone is Emily Vogler presenting on her project called the Dam Atlas. And Emily's done a lot of great work with community engagement around getting a lot of people aware and active in the Blackstone. And she was part of the organizing the kayak expedition, that second one, that went down the river. So, and I think Stephanie, you were on that too, right? Yeah, so she's awesome, and she's going to be speaking on March 24th on Friday at 12 p.m. I realize I haven't shared my screen yet. Sorry.
Okay, I'll say I've signed up for that Dam Atlas presentation. I'm very excited about it.
Me too. I'm really excited. And she works with Art Gold at URI. So an Art Gold is one of our board members for the Rhode Island Flood Mitigation Association. So he will be there as well to answer any questions about the work that they're doing around this project. If you go to our website, riflood.org, you can click down here to register. It's $10 to register for the webinar. If you can't make it, I send it out to everyone that's registered afterwards, a recording of it. If you are a member of RIFMA, which is you can pay a membership fee of around, I think it's at $60 now. Or the other option is also you register for our conference, which is annual, and that's coming up on May 25th. And when you register for the conference, that also includes a RIFMA membership, and that gets you all of these Flood Talk Fridays for free, and then also gets you our newsletter that sends out resources and updates coming from our national organization, the Association of State Floodplain Managers, which is based out in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. And their mission is to just keep updated and keep, it is like floodplain managers up to date with the best practices for floodplain mitigation. And that's to reduce loss of life, loss of costs, and just like that sort of thing. So we work with them a lot. And this year, our conference hasn't happened in person for about 2 years because of the pandemic. So everyone's really excited to get back together. And we bring together public officials, local, state, and regional level. And then we have consultants there presenting on flood mitigation projects that they have worked with either local officials on, town planners, state, and also sometimes nonprofits are involved. So far, I know that we have a couple nonprofits presenting on community-focused projects, and then we also have some consulting firms presenting on a couple projects that they've done as well. So it's going to be at URI, and the food is apparently really good there. And then we also have a happy hour at the end to just network and connect with people and like workshop through these ideas, who's out there. So I know that we also have people from DEM and NRCS coming to present, and also just going to be in attendance. So great opportunity to see what's going on in the flood world for Rhode Island, but we're trying to also invite people from Massachusetts and Connecticut as well. So I want to direct you all to the website to learn more. And thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about it a little bit more. So thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say that I would definitely be there at that conference, but I've committed to the oh, someone help me out here. The Envirothon. Yeah, in Massachusetts, Envirothon is on that same day. So I'll be at Riverbend Farm, unfortunately, but that'll be fun too. Does anyone have any questions for Casey? Feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat or just unmute. Okay, if you think of any, same thing, put them in the chat, and we'll get to those questions. So thanks, Casey. And Judy, if you want to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Sure. All right. All right, so you should be seeing my slideshow. Oops, no, I have to share first. There we go. Okay. All right. So, well, thank you very much, Stephanie, for inviting me to be here today. As everybody knows, it's grant season, so I'm pleased to be here today to share some information about the Watershed Planning Program and our non-point source program grants. So there we go. So for folks that aren't familiar with the Watershed Planning Program, We are a statewide program, and our mission is to protect, enhance, and restore the quality of waters in the Commonwealth. So we're responsible for establishing water quality standards, assessing water quality throughout the state, preparing the biennial integrated list of waters, the infamous list of waters, establishing pollutant load limits through our total maximum daily load section, and then, of course, providing grant funding through the non-point source section. So this is the non-point source section team. So we are, as I said, we administer and award Clean Water Act Section 604B grants and 319 funding for eligible projects. Our section chief is Dr. Padmini Das, who just joined us just about a year ago, and she's just really, really wonderful. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet, I'm sure she would love to have you reach out and say hello. Megan Selby coordinates our 604B program. Malcolm Harper coordinates our 319 program, and I am the outreach coordinator. So here I am today selling grants. So our primary program priorities is to restore impaired waters and protect healthy waters. And additional program priorities include planning for climate change, climate resiliency, and the advancement of equity, diversity, and environmental justice, both internally and through our grant programs. And our primary program activities are to manage our two grant programs, of course, which I'll discuss a little bit more in the following slides, to coordinate with our partners to ensure that we're addressing and meeting our program priorities, and to provide technical support such as outreach and education and capacity building to our partners and stakeholders. So I'll start with the 604B program. The 604B program is a planning grant. So we encourage applicants to take a watershed-based approach to identifying water quality problems and solutions. And this really, when you take a watershed-based approach, it really sets you up not only for our grants, but for other grant programs throughout the state as well. And so the watershed planning grant includes activities like watershed assessments, water quality monitoring, pollutant load estimates, load reduction estimates, implementation planning, and of course, as I mentioned, watershed-based plan development. And as previously mentioned, projects that incorporate equity and climate resiliency will be prioritized. So this year we have between $400,000 and $600,000 available in grant funding. Applications average about $50,000 per award. There is no match requirement for 604B. I know that's a problem for many organizations. Providing match will make your proposal more competitive, however. And we're anticipating that our next grant round will be this summer. We're incorporating some new guidance that's come down from EPA. So we're a little bit delayed in both of our grant programs. So folks that have been watching, especially for 319, we're a little bit delayed, but those will be coming soon, I promise. So just to give you an idea of some projects that could be funded through 604B, I just included a short list here of projects that we funded in 2021. So this includes the development of watershed-based plans, a project that conducted water quality assessment, identification of pollutant loads needed to meet water quality standards and restore impaired waters, and the development of conceptual designs, including green infrastructure. That's actually one of our priorities within the 604B program, and then also developing implementation plans. So our second grant, the 319 grant program, is geared more towards implementation. So the idea is that an applicant would first apply for a 604B grant, do all the planning work, develop the conceptual designs that are necessary, and then apply for 319 to do the actual BMP implementation. We do also fund several non-implementation categories under 319, including capacity building and healthy watershed protection. And as with 604B, projects that will directly benefit environmental justice communities are a priority. 319 has approximately $2 million in funds for distribution, and projects range anywhere from 50,000 to 500,000, or sometimes even more, depending on what the implementation project is. 319 does have a 40% match requirement, which is a little bit steep and can be very challenging for some organizations. However, we're investigating methods to reduce or eliminate that requirement, especially for projects that are going to be conducted in environmental justice communities. And any public or private organization is eligible to apply for 319. And as I said, we're a little bit delayed this year, but we are anticipating that the RFR will be released sometime late spring. Excuse me. So here again are a few projects that we funded in 2022 under the 319 project. I should have used the Manchog project. So these are split between implementation projects such as installation of stormwater management practices and non-implementation projects such as the development of tools and resources to reduce non-point source pollution and protect healthy waters, and the funding of regional non-point source coordinators, which is a new program that we started a couple of years ago. So we fund regional planning agencies, but it could be other sort of regional organizations. And they work with stakeholders to identify pollutant sources and conduct planning and implementation in their regions to reduce pollutant loads and impaired waters. So that was it, a very, very brief tour of our non-point source program and our grants. So I hope that there's some interest maybe in applying for either one of our planning grants or possibly our 319 grant, our implementation grant. So this is our contact information again, and I did share this PowerPoint with Stephanie. So, you know, you're free to share that with the group, and everyone will have this information. So with that, I will stop sharing, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Judy. That's really helpful to have them laid out. And I didn't even realize that the 319 can also, you know, be used for things like capacity building. So that's great to know. You know, my brain's flowing and I have ideas I mentioned to you before. And I will not put you on the spot, CMRPC, but just to let you know that I'm really interested in working with you on creating a 604B application to look at the entire Blackstone watershed. And I know CMRPC would probably be the appropriate applicant in that case. I'm not eligible to apply as the collaborative at a university, but just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, 604B I didn't mention, but 604B needs to be a unit of government. So municipalities, excuse me, I think regional planning agencies are eligible. 319 is much more inclusive and anybody can apply. So, but if you're interested, definitely before the RFR is released, we can speak with you about your project. So if you wanted to kind of put a plan together and then contact Megan Selby before the RFR is released, she can, you know, go over what you're thinking about and give you some pointers and help you develop a really strong proposal. So
I appreciate
same
that.
with Malcolm. Yeah, if you're thinking about 319.
Yeah. So I know that Sutton has the Manchog Pond has a 604B grant. Are folks aware of any other areas in the Blackstone watershed that have smaller scale 604Bs that have watershed based plans? Yeah, we don't have a lot of them here, so it's definitely a priority for us to work on that. And I would encourage, you know, others, if you want to create a smaller watershed based plan to really take a deep dive into your, you know, local community, let me know how we can be supportive on that too. So any questions for Judy? Okay, well, I also, Heather, I was thinking about you and BRC when Judy was talking about those, what did you call them? Regional non-point source coordinators. I'm not sure entirely what that would involve, but it sounds a lot of like the work that you're already doing. So any way I can nudge you all and apply for some of these grants and get letters of support from me, you know.
Yep, that will be included as a category in the 319 grant again. So, yeah, so if anyone's working on a regional basis and is interested, give
Do you
us a-
have to have a watershed-based plan in order to apply for that funding?
Not for that one, not for the non-implementation grant or non-implementation program does not require a watershed-based plan, but the implementation grants do. So, yeah.
Great. Well, I'm just setting myself up for future meetings with you all. I'll be reaching out.
Always happy to talk.
Judy said it's both conference season and application season, so I'm a little swamped at the moment, but I'll wait until maybe April to get some of those going. Thanks so much, Judy, for that. It was really informative. And next, we are going to move on to our subgroup updates. So we have a few things here. A couple of them I'm going to run through relatively quickly, and then we're going to transition into our water quality updates, and in particular dive into the Woonsocket wastewater treatment discharge, which had been going on starting March 1st, and no advisory contact was lifted yesterday, I think. So we do have, I don't know if he's joined us yet. I think he'll be joining soon. Joe Habrack from the Rhode Island DEM to discuss with us. Okay, so Bikeway Greenway, I just wanted to put it out there that it's not quite connected to the entire Blackstone Bikeway Greenway, but the city of Worcester is currently applying for $2.5 million of federal funding to reimagine Mill Street. So Mill Street is on the western side of the city and runs along Coe's Pond, which is one of their recreational swimming beaches. And it's right next to the housing authority. So this is an environmental justice area, it's recreation, it's a really wide road that was absolutely engineered to drive 60 miles an hour, limited sidewalks. And I think the city's been wanting to look at this for a long time. So they'll be adding a greenway along it, a linear park, better pedestrian access, bike access, etc. So I wrote a letter of support for that project that they submitted this week, I believe. So fingers crossed on that one. And if you have any questions, I would just, and a road diet, of course, narrowing that roadway. I would just encourage you to reach out to the transportation division at the city of Worcester. I'm happy to connect you with Steve Raleigh, who runs that. Any other Bikeway Greenway updates that folks want to share? Okay. In terms of our university work, Heather, thank you so much. Heather is working with a student at Holy Cross who has finally agreed. We've had so many folks say, I'm interested and not follow through. So finally agreed to create a new website for BRC. I'm so excited. This has been a priority of mine since I've had this position for 1.5 years. The Blackstone River Collaborative has funding from Narragansett Bay Estuary Program to pay the student to do the work. So Heather, is there anything you wanted to add?
We're just really excited to have her technical expertise. She's a computer science major from Holy Cross. She's getting started as we speak, and she's very excited to help out. So, and thank you for helping us make it happen too.
Yes, I'm so excited about this. It's going to be great. And please let me know. I will send you, I'll put in a Google Drive, maybe all the photos that I have free. You don't have to ask for permission, just like use every photo I've ever taken of the Blackstone. We have a lot of them from the paddle last year.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I would encourage other folks too, if you have great pictures, websites are made from their photos. So feel free to share those with me or with Heather.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Also under university work, and sorry I didn't have it on the agenda itself, but I mentioned at previous meetings that I'm working with some WPI IQP students, so interactive qualifying project. We have a couple of them here today. I don't want to put them on the spot. I didn't tell them they would be doing any kind of presentation, but just so you know, they are working with me to look at some culverts in Sutton that DPW has prioritized already. So we'll be putting those into the NAC database. They're getting certified in the NAC protocol, the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative, and sharing the results with the town. And then they'll also be looking at what are some of the barriers to implementation and removing and replacing some of these culverts in the region. It's something that we find a lot, that folks say, yeah, culverts are a problem, but then not a lot happens necessarily. And we don't get as many applications, for instance, to DER's program on culvert replacement in this region. So I have given them many of your names and email addresses so that if you haven't heard from them yet, they might be reaching out to you soon and asking for an interview. I would encourage you to take 20 minutes or so if you can chat with them. And if you have particular ideas about what's needed, whether it's something like a website on, you know, starting from I'm interested, but I know nothing about culverts to, okay, I got the funding and I replaced it and we're done. You know, some kind of, what's the word? Diagram, is that the word I'm looking for? Sorry, guys, I think I need more coffee. But, you know, you got the arrows and the boxes getting you from point A to point B. So helping people kind of through that process, linking out what are the funding opportunities, what are the educational documents that already exist. If it's creating something like a one-pager on that and making it really short and easily understandable by communities. If it's, you know, some other document that you think would be really helpful and kind of help communities understand this or get them going on where to go for first steps. We're really fortunate in Massachusetts to have DER. I work in Rhode Island, of course, and we're working on maybe creating a DER in Rhode Island because it's a wonderful organization just to provide that assistance and be a kind of a one-stop shop. So if folks have any comments on that, let me know. Or if you haven't heard from the students and you're interested in having that conversation on culverts, just put your name in the chat and I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you. Mark, is that you?
Yeah, I was looking to raise my hand and I couldn't find the button. So I have some sort of good news on the culvert assessment front in Rhode Island. We're currently working on a scope of work for a culvert assessment program. We're going to prioritize our TIP projects. And so for those of you who don't know what that stands for, it's I had to look it up myself, Transportation Improvement Program. So that's sort of like the RIDOT master plan, all of the big projects that are coming down the pike. So we're looking to prioritize those to make sure that we've at least done culvert assessments on any of those projects that have road stream crossings so that we can sort of pressure the other groups. For those of you who don't know how RIDOT's set up, the environmental division is sort of like we call ourselves the island of misfit toys. So we sort of have to fight against the rest of the organization to make sure that the environmental priorities are met. And so we're going to, like I said, we're looking to develop the scope of work right now. And hopefully soon that will at least go out for bid by the end of the year. We're hoping to have at least a consultant on board, and we can start doing some culvert assessments on our big projects. So that's really good news, I think. So moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. If you have a link to the program or anything, I'd be happy to put it into the chat for folks.
Yeah, this isn't really an active project. Yeah, we're still just working on the scope of work to get it out the door, but yeah,
no problem.
Moving forward, baby steps. So
love it. And this might be a good time to mention, and I can answer questions later, that the collaborative, I can't remember if I mentioned it last time, if it was completed yet, but we received a private foundation grant for $75,000, which is so exciting because that really helps us provide non-federal match to some of our other applications. And it's specifically focused on culvert assessment. And because we got that funding and some previous private foundation funding, as well, we are looking to hire someone, so exciting, who is going to be full-time, and a lot of their work is going to be on restoration and running some of these culvert assessment programs. So really looking forward to sharing that with you and encouraging anyone who's interested to apply, or if you know some folks interested in applying, we'd love to talk to you. Okay, anything, we kind of skipped around there, but anything under university work? And then Joe, will get to you in just a minute.
Yes, Stephanie, Peter Coffin from the Blackstone River Coalition. We've been working with two professors at Holy Cross. Professor Gareth Roberts, Heather has made that connection, and their student is going to be looking at our monitoring and helping us analyze it and getting some good charts and graphs, and we'll get some good work out of that. And then Professor Bill Sopchak has a couple professors, one of which is wanting to focus on dam removal, probably in Worcester, but I think it's a great program that maybe she could sit in on the dam atlas. So it's a lot of good work happening there.
Absolutely, and we're appreciative of all of Holy Cross's interactions and contributions there. And speaking of which, we also have Bryce Dubois from Holy Cross that joined us. So thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I mean, Steph, I guess I would just say, yeah, we're glad to be supporting the fish passage or fish migration effort down in the lower four dams. So helping with some of that planning around the parade, and then also developing some of the sort of additional communication documents and things to support telling the story of the last 20 years or so of trying to get that project going. So we're building out an archive, a timeline, and some other products for that. So yeah, glad to be supporting the work that y'all are doing.
Thank you. And we appreciate that, because those are all things that I could certainly not do on my own. So that's wonderful and really timely. Okay. Speaking of passage, I just wanted to let folks know that we attended, and thank you to Save the Bay for sharing your table with us. We attended the Rhode Island Saltwater Fishing Show last weekend, and we collected about 200 postcards written to Mr. Terry Gray at DEM, showing that we have public support. Basically, the postcard says, please accept this postcard to show my public support of the project to create fish passage over the lower four dams. We were told that we needed to demonstrate that the public was involved and that this should be a priority for the division. So hopefully with these postcards, we have done that. And we also are having folks color, oops, I'm disappearing, color these fish. I forget that this is a thing when you take away your background. Color these fish and come to the parade in the spring. So really looking forward to getting more of those out there. And I will also send you all the link in the chat here that we've created an Eventbrite for that parade on May 21st. Please feel free to save the date. And if you haven't told us that you would like to table at that event, or if you would like to march in the parade with us, please sign up and email me if you want a table. I know Save the Bay has one, and I've reached out to CRMC so they can bring their trash trailer and have that there. I'm not sure what other organizations are interested in having a table, but we would love to have you. I know Mass Audubon or BRC or whoever else, just let me know. Okay, any other comments on Fish Passage University Bike Greenway updates? There will be a time for general updates after we talk about water quality.
I'll mention, Stephanie, that I just received the final report from the WPI MQP team that's designing a footbridge over Tatnick Brook.
Oh, great.
The Worcester State University neighborhood with trail networks on the opposite side of the brook, and also tying into the Mill Street Greenway. If that comes to fruition, it would be a direct tie into that. So we're kind of excited. It's a very professional quality report, and we'll be digesting it and looking for funding sources for that.
Fantastic. Yeah. So glad that that's happening. Definitely a need there. Thanks, Greg. All right. So let's transition into our water quality updates. So as many of you know, there was an ongoing sewer discharge into the Blackstone River from the Woonsocket wastewater treatment plant. So this started on Wednesday, March 1st. DEM issued a no contact advisory. And what our understanding is, and I'll hand it over to Joe to talk more specifically, but it stemmed from malfunctioning solids equipment managed by Synagro. So the city of Woonsocket owns the treatment plant, and they manage out to 2 separate companies, and each of those companies manages a different portion of the wastewater treatment. So part of it is managed by Jacobs Company, which is the liquids, and then Synagro manages the solids. And this is the 3rd time that this had occurred within a year. So you all probably remember last June. I think I put it in here. Yeah, last June, when there was a wastewater discharge for, I believe, 9 days, and we all got together. We had 22 organizations sign on to a letter to DEM saying that this is unacceptable. We are paying attention. This river runs through, and this part is affecting some of the most underrepresented and economically challenged areas in the Blackstone Watershed and in Rhode Island. So it was of serious concern. And we have a big update that a couple days ago, DEM and the Attorney General's office have filed a lawsuit against the city of Woonsocket about this wastewater discharge. And as of yesterday, the no advisory contact has been lifted. So Joe, I'll hand it over to you. You can give us a little bit more detail about what happened and what's going on and DEM's reaction.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hopefully everyone can hear me fine. So yeah, first of all, I guess I would just like to extend my thanks for the opportunity to give you a quick rundown as far as, the history and what the current status is. Just a bit of a kind of forewarning, because it is the subject of a current legal action. Obviously I won't be able to get into some of the nitty gritty details, but I'll answer any questions that I can after I give you a quick summary. And I would also like to just also state that from the department standpoint, we agree this is unacceptable. These were permit violations. The instances that were March and June of last year, and then they reoccurred in March. It is unacceptable. We, quite frankly, we had been working on a formal enforcement action for quite some time, even before this latest March event took place. I know it's never easy to explain to the public, but these matters take time, and we're coordinating with the Attorney General's office. So there's kind of various agencies that were coordinating on that. Just a point of clarification, because I think that there are some there's some miscommunication out there as far as what exactly did take place. I have heard people kind of refer to it as a sewage discharge. I do think it's important to note that it wasn't like a raw sewage discharge. It was a failure it was partially treated, so it wasn't receiving the full treatment that it should have received. Which doesn't minimize the extent of the violation, but just as a clarification. And also, I think another clarification I would like to just make sure everyone's aware of, is this kind of concept of it was the result of the solids processing side of the equation. I know that there has been some media reports out there where the city has been saying, this is all because the Synagro regional incinerators accepting sludge from other communities, and that's not entirely the case. There's many reasons for these violations that had occurred. If it was as straightforward as it was just Synagro, it would have been addressed a long time ago. Stephanie, you did do a great job, I think, of kind of explaining that. There's kind of the liquid side of the wastewater treatment facility, which Jacobs operates that. Then there's the kind of solids, I'll call it the solid side, the incinerator side of the facility, which Synagro operates that. So the wastewater in the city is ultimately owns all of it. So the way the process works is, there's sanitary wastewater comes in through the sewer system, goes right into the liquid side operated by Jacobs. There's liquid and solid sludge that comes from, we'll say roughly 75% of the sludge generating in Rhode Island goes to Woonsocket. There are also some out-of-state sludge vendors that go to that Synagro facility. They bring those in. Liquid sludge that goes in is dewatered, and then the dewatered the filtrate from that dewatering process also goes into the liquid side. There is a critical component in between the two, though. It's called the gravity thickener. That is neither the responsibility of Jacobs nor Synagro. The city's responsible for that gravity thickener. And I think that's one of these kind of critical pieces that is omitted from the articles or the press information that has been put out there. Quite frankly, that gravity thickener has not been adequately maintained for quite some time. It's to the point now where it needs to be completely rebuilt. And that certainly is a contributing factor to these instances of non-compliance. So I just want to put that out there. It's not as simple as, you may have read in some of the articles that, this is all the result of, Synagro accepting sludge from other communities. It's not that simple. There's many reasons for the violations, and this is why it took so long to get to where we're at. So what have we done to address the situation? There's many things that we required the city and its contractors to do. They brought in, actually back on the 2022, last year, we had them bring in additional solids removal equipment in the form of belt presses. So those belt presses are removing additional solids from the liquid side, the wastewater side of the facility. And the reason why those belt presses were necessary is basically because that gravity thickener that I mentioned, that the city's responsible for, was not operating at peak efficiency. And so there were additional solids going into the wastewater side that were accumulating. City needed to get rid of those solids. Last year, we had them put in those belt presses. And that worked well for a while. And then eventually, March 1st, so very shortly before that date this year, the gravity thickener, instead of just operating inefficiently, actually completely failed. So that resulted in further solids being discharged into the treatment plant. So what we've had them do, in addition to the belt presses I mentioned, they've made several process modification changes on the wastewater side. Synagro has brought in additional solids removal equipment on their side, called FRAC tanks, FARC tanks. Those are basically tanks that are used to settle out solids. And those FRAC tanks were brought in again because the gravity thickener is not there. So they're removing additional solids from the Synagro side of the equation that would flow into the wastewater side with the gravity thickener being down. Kind of the last component that we've had the city institute is they're in the process of bringing in a portable gravity belt thickener until they can get their permanent gravity thickener repaired, which they've estimated to take about a year. We've required them to bring in this portable unit. They're in the process of getting that out to the site. There's some logistical challenges. It's an oversized load. They need to get it delivered, and there's some DOT permitting that you need to do on that. But they are in the process of bringing that on site. It should be on-site and operational in a matter of weeks is what we're being told. So, there's a lot of measures that we've had them implement. It's gotten to the point where now, the effluent quality has been consistently good for quite some time. Actually, the last date, certainly on March 1st, there was very significant color being discharged. I'm sure people have seen the pictures. That was there for a few days. Again, I don't want to get into the specifics on the timelines because that is part of the legal action. But it's safe to say that for relatively quickly after that March 1st date, the effluent quality visually returned to acceptable levels. We reviewed the bacteria data for the entire time. While there were a few, March 1st, it was slightly elevated based on the data that we have. There's a lag time in getting the bacteria data. I think we had data through maybe I think it was the 13th. Interestingly enough, the bacteria data looks like they actually met permit limits. That's good news in terms of impacts to the river. We still kept the advisory in place until we were comfortable that the solids in the wastewater plant were under control. Because the last thing we wanted to have happen is lift the advisory, then a day or two later, put the advisory back in place if there was another solids washout. So that's where we're at right now. I mean, like I said, we've worked with Synagro and their contractors to put in several kind of temporary measures, if you will, to improve the solids removal from both the incinerator side and the wastewater side of the equation. Ultimately, they're going to need to rebuild that gravity thickener and make any other necessary corrective actions that they have to do at the treatment plant. But we want those temporary measures in place so that we can get so we could lift the advisory up as soon as we could. So as you're aware, there's the legal action that's been taken by the Attorney General and DEM. That's going to work through the court system. The intent there is ultimately kind of, I guess, twofold. Any type of formal enforcement action, the first priority is get facilities back into compliance. So that's obviously the number one priority, get the facility back to compliance. Second action is, you need to kind of make any parties that were injured whole, and also kind of provide a monetary penalty as a kind of a deterrent and penalty for violating their permit. So those are the two components there. So I guess that's real quick, where we're at today. I think it's important that everyone kind of recognizes this has been something that the department had been working on with the Attorney General for quite some time. It just unfortunately took a little longer than we had hoped. But ultimately, we're at the point where we've got the formal enforcement action out there. The river now, the discharge now is at the level where it's meeting permit limits, and we're comfortable that solids levels are under control with those temporary measures having taken place. And I'll open it up to any questions. And again, just if any of them are kind of too sensitive in terms of the lawsuit, I may not be able to answer everything, but I'll answer what I can. And I see there is a question in the chat. What are the chances of the temporary fixes failing prior to getting the permanent fix in place? A great question. So, obviously, temporary fixes are not as robust as permanent structures out there. They're for obvious reasons. So to address that, we've actually got the facility is taking bacteria samples daily. They're reporting effluent visual quality and solids levels to us twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon. So we're really, and that's not typical. I mean, we don't typically have people reporting directly to us on a daily basis. We've instituted that so that we can make sure that if things start going sideways, we're able to ensure that the city and their contractors are taking immediate actions, not dragging their feet on any responses. So, ultimately, I can't predict, I feel that the temporary fixes are robust enough that we don't expect them to fail. That's why we lifted the advisory. But in the event that they did fail, like I said, we've got this daily reporting, actually twice a day on effluent clarity. It's our hope that if it did start failing, we'd get ahead of that. So I see there's a hand up, Peter.
Yes, a policy question, I guess. You stated that the treatment plant is taking 60% of the sludge of Rhode Island. I had also heard that the state of Maine wasn't letting all this sludge be landfilled, and that also maybe contributed a lot of outside users needing a place to get rid of the stuff. I guess the question specific is, why doesn't some of this sludge go to, what was it, the Point, Fields Point, or the other larger systems? Or who controls, or is it a free market? And the price, they go to the cheapest. I don't know how it works. If you could educate me.
No, that's another great question. So as far as Field Point, they actually don't have an incinerator there. The only two incinerators in Rhode Island are at the Cranston wastewater treatment facility and Woonsocket. The only other in-state disposal option that there is the landfill, and the disposing of solids at the landfill poses some operational challenges on their end. It tends to, one, they can't just put sludge in the landfill. They need to mix it, blend it, if you will, with rubbish, municipal waste to make it a little more solid, give it a little more structure to it. And even then, it can have odor issues. It tends to cause problems with their equipment, gumming up the tires and the tracks of their equipment. So the only disposal options in state are really right now Woonsocket and Cranston. The landfill does take some limited loads when they need to. And really what drives that right now is it's kind of like you say, it's a free market system. It's regionally, there's a shortage of disposal options, and quite frankly, nationally, it's a challenge for many regions. Maine putting the ban on land application of their biosolids did shift that demand, if you will, to other disposal options. So, in response to that, the department, we've recognized that this has been an issue for quite some time. We're actually in the process of trying to form a work group to look at that and look at other different, maybe for lack of a better term, different business models, if you will, that we can look at to help increase the state's we'll call it sludge security, if you will, so that we're not as reliant on such a small number of facilities, particular facilities operated by private entities.
And I just wanted to follow up on that. I know Sue Kiernan from DEM is also part of the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program Steering Committee that myself and a few others here are on. And that was a topic of conversation. And I know NBP is interested in creating some sort of working group to really look into this issue. But I think the Attorney General also stated this in the press conference the other day, that we really want to think about these as two separate issues. Putting solid sludge somewhere is an issue, and we know that Maine's not accepting it and they have to be trucked, et cetera. But that is a bigger picture thing that we want to address separately. And then we also have this Woonsocket wastewater treatment plant that's not meeting its its permit limits, so that we just want to make sure we're not kind of like blaming one for the other, that they're two separate things, but we want to be able to address both of them.
Yeah, that's why kind of, thanks, that's good clarification there, Stephanie. And that's why kind of early on, when I started my discussion, I wanted to clarify, there's been kind of the message has been floated out there by certain entities that, hey, this is all because Woonsocket's taking sludge, and that's not the case. I mean, they have been taking sludge for years and years, so that's not the sole cause. The bigger concern, again, there has been in some of the news articles, it's been floated out there by the city and Synagro, that there's been some indications that they may reconsider operating as a regional sludge facility, and that's really, like Stephanie said, it's a separate issue, but it is a very high priority issue from the DEM standpoint and the state standpoint. Because certainly that would be catastrophic if that were to happen. Patty?
Yeah, I guess that leads to my question, and I just pardon my ignorance, is I know the mayor put out there that this needs more of Woonsocket, there's more discussion regarding the other communities that contribute outside of Rhode Island. And I tend to agree with her on that, but I guess maybe it's partly due to my ignorance of not understanding why Woonsocket is taking from other states in New England, and why some of these other states don't have their own capacity to take their own sludge. Which again, like I said, I'm kind of ignorant to these things. You've kind of answered some of that question, but I just need a little bit more clarification on that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I can kind of clarify that a little bit. So many years ago, I'd say roughly 10 years ago, Woonsocket did negotiate an agreement with Synagro and for the operation of that incinerator. Part of that agreement was basically that the incinerator would take care of Woonsocket's sludge free of charge, and then the city of Woonsocket also gets an annual payment. Now, that was, like I say, negotiated many years ago. Now you come to today, there's a bunch of different players involved. Economics are different, and I guess ultimately, the mayor's comments, she's rethinking whether that was, wise. Oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. And so as part of that, so it said the incinerator, so we'll say Synagro, they agreed to take care of Woonsocket's sludge for free, and they give the city an annual payment. Part of what Synagro got out of that is Synagro, now they could operate that facility, not without any limits. There is a limit. They've got an order of approval that was issued from my office. So there are limits to how much total solids they can process. But they kind of have the ability to take sludge from, in-state, out-of-state, charge fees for that. So that's what both sides basically got out of it. Woonsocket got an annual payment and free sludge processing. Synagro got the ability to use this facility in part of its regional sludge processing system. Now, you don't hear Synagro side, but frankly, both sides of the contract are unhappy with where they're at today. But that's a contractual issue, and that's for the lawyers to work through. I mean, as far as why why other states don't have their own processing capacity, I mean, it's same thing is, like I mentioned, to Rhode Island. We've got 2 incinerators in the landfill. A lot of landfills are getting away from accepting biosolids because of the operational issues I mentioned. There's PFAS concerns. So there's reasons why landfills are getting out of it, so that dries it up. Then you've got Maine that they traditionally had land applied their sludge. The Maine legislature just passed a law, said, no more land application, which frankly wasn't supported by their environmental agency, but it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to concerns over PFAS contamination. And so that dried up that outlet, if you will, for biosolids. So now it's left with regionally, people are jockeying around. And I want to say, quite honestly, I don't think that we don't have any indications that there's, any, bad intent between Synagro. Quite honestly, the best that we can get is all of the regional incinerators, the facilities, they're doing the best that they can, trying to triage the situation, take the sludge from facilities that need to get rid of the sludge, giving them priority. I mean, frankly, I think they're trying to take care of everyone. But there's just not enough outlets. It is somewhat the free market system. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, Patty, why there's a shortage. It's not like, not like there's a big plan to try to come up, to not have disposal options. It's just, as some of these disposal options go down, for instance, Maine, you can't land apply there anymore. A lot of landfills don't want to accept it. There's only so many other places that they can send it. On top of that, it's pretty, it's regular that these incinerators that are left do have periods of time when they have to do routine maintenance. So they go down for a week or two at a time. Then you have to shuffle it all around, and they're trying to avoid a catastrophe where you've got treatment plants don't have any disposal options. So I hope that answers it a little better.
Thanks, Joe. This is more information than I have gotten anywhere else. So this is super helpful. And that was, I think, one of the challenges was, and I get there's ongoing investigations, and maybe that's why, and I know it's a complicated issue for, general public, but it's been really tough to piece together exactly what happened and what's been going on until we got this, this press conference and press release, and being able to read the lawsuit. That was really eye-opening to kind of put it all together. And this information that you've provided with us today, I really appreciate you coming in, because this has given me a better picture than I've been able to try and piece together from all the different articles that have been kind of coming out piecemeal. So.
I would concur with you, Stephanie. And I guess here's my next question. Why not put that out there to the public, what you just stated? I mean, Joe, that was a great explanation. And I think it would help to maybe qualm any other concerns that might be out there from the public. I mean, I read some of the comments to the articles from people saying that, the city's not doing this and that's not doing this, there's all these blame things. But if the DEM could put out something with what you just stated here in this meeting to the public, I think it might be worth your while. I mean, that's just me. Now, I was really angry at the Rhode Island Rivers Council meeting, when I saw Michael Healy's quote that, oh yeah, DEM should have done something sooner. And I was just like fuming. And I brought it up at the Rivers Council, said, why did it take so long? And these are things that we don't know unless it's explained to us. So I guess, and I'm still a little angry that it's taken this long, and after celebrating 50 years of ZAP and Clean Water Act, the Clean Water Act, it just seems like there should be something in place to handle this. But and I'm not going to quote Bob, but basically says we need to tell people not to poop anymore. But that's not reasonable. I think we could change our diets a little bit, but it's just like feeding bread to geese, maybe, but Anyway, I'm just saying that if you had a forum to be able to put that out there to explain better to the public, I think that might be worth your while.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why I told Stephanie I'd be willing to come in here, come on this meeting and answer it. I mean, Mike Healy's our press guy. He's overworked like many of us are. So he was answering the questions the best he could. And I think what he meant, the intent of his that we should have taken action sooner. He didn't mean that we weren't working on it. I think what the intent was that in an ideal world, the enforcement action should have gone on sooner. Like I said, we had actually been coordinating for quite some time, both the DEM and the AG's office. It took a while to come out.
Thanks, Joe. And I realize that we're putting you in the hot seat specifically as if, you controlled everything that goes on at DEM. So, we're on the same side here about trying to have clean water, and it's just a question of enhancing our transparency as much as possible.
No, I appreciate that, and thankfully, this isn't the reason I'm not on social media. Just because I'm not on social media, but the folks around the office, that are on social media, my wife's on social media. I certainly feel, I'm an environmentalist. I'm out on the rivers all the time. Not the Blackstone as much, because I live in Southern Rhode Island, so I'm much more on the Wood-Pawcatuck watershed. But it personally, it does frustrate me. And I get it from the public standpoint. It does appear that nothing has been done, but I do think the documentation on the lawsuit clearly demonstrates, in the press conference on Wednesday, we had been just between these three events. So if you say from, early 2022 to present, we had been on site, I think it was 36 times. We had, half a dozen high level meetings. There's been a lot of effort. That's not typical. We don't do that for all the 19 treatment facilities. There's been a lot of effort behind the scenes that people don't see. And I'm just trying to get that message out to you folks.
Sure. I have a clarifying question, Joe. If there have been these multiple issues, and there was work on issuing a notice of violation NOV for the June event, but before that came out, we have this lawsuit now. Does that preempt an NOV? Is an NOV still coming? And if that is coming, is it for June or is it for now or both? Because the lawsuit's for all three, right? Or for the ongoing issue?
Correct. Yeah. So that's probably best for our legal office, but my understanding is there's not going to be a separate DEM action. This is the action now.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So I know we've taken a lot of time on this, but it's a really important issue, and this has been extraordinarily helpful for me and hopefully others to really understand the lay of the land of what happened, what is happening, what enforcement action is being taken, and that we are at a point now where the no contact advisory has been lifted. And I just want to say, for our many partners on this call, I support this this enforcement action. I think it's so important to hold violators accountable. And, we have our regulations in place for a reason. Just as Patty mentioned, it's been this 50-year last year of the Clean Water Act. And that's the reason the Blackstone's so much cleaner than it used to be. And a lot of that is through the work that all the folks on this call have been doing for the past decades, and especially in the past year on pushing on this and saying, hey, the Blackstone is important. We're not going to be left behind. Please pay attention to us. So thank you to all the advocates on this call who are working so hard in all of their different ways to get the Blackstone cleaner and to enhance its reputation, to get recreational access and visibility for us. Does anyone have any other questions or comments on this topic before we move on our agenda?
I just have one more comment with regard to, if for some reason with these temporary measures, there is another issue, particularly when we get into heavy recreational use of the river, that there be some kind of communication program a little bit better. Because I had a person show up at Central Falls Landing who with a kayak during this issue, and basically and he did hear about it, luckily, and I know it was all in the news, but I guess to get something out to people that are running programs such as the Tourism Council and the Watershed Council, who does regular canoe programs in the spring and summer, something quick so that, we're not putting anybody, on the river that might, because I know last year we didn't find out, and we actually had people, Rivers Day going on when that one in June happened, and we had people out on the river. And not that it would be an immediate reach to Central Falls, but anyway, just a good communication system, I guess, to get the word out for those people that are utilizing the river, if for some reason something does happen this summer.
Yeah, I'm certainly, I'm sure the department, I speak to the department here. If there's suggestions, yes, feel free to pass them along to me, and I can pass to our press people. If you want to send them to Stephanie can forward them along to myself. We're certainly receptive to suggestions. I think.
Okay. And speaking of press people, there's a new, speaking of press, there's a new nonprofit news outlet. I'm not sure if you heard about them, Rhode Island Current. I happen to know the editor from a previous job from years and years ago. I have put them in touch with Stephanie regarding the river, and I would love for you to be able to give your side, what you just explained to us here, if you don't mind me sending your contact information to that reporter.
Actually,
or I could send you her.
Yeah, probably so if you send me this person's contact information, I'll send it up to Mike Healy, because we kind of coordinate our press interaction.
All right, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sounds
Patty.
good.
I don't know if Heidi's got a question for me or comment.
Yeah, just suggestion and a question. So with Massachusetts now having this system of notifying people about CSOs, and they have a systematic way of notifying the public, just a suggestion, you might look at that as, I don't know if it's a good model, but really getting the word out. I think I'm particularly concerned about EJ community, folks who may not see a notice coming across email networks. There's, other ways people need to be notified, even like signage and things. A question though, regarding, kind of bigger picture issue in this whole PFAS thing. It seems like there's a real conundrum going forward for how these, solids and sludge are going to be managed. And the problem seems to only be getting bigger. Is there any interstate conversation, coordination about the future of solids management in New England?
So yes, there is. There's the it used to be called New England. It's just Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission. Now they kind of rebranded as just NUIPIC. So they have a regional biosolids group that does meet to discuss these. In addition, there was a subgroup, if you will, of the Narragansett Bay Commission in Rhode Island. I believe it was Springfield and Upper Blackstone in Massachusetts that have a work group that they're working on, looking at a regional, some regional alternatives. So it definitely is being looked at, and and this is, it's a separate issue from the Woonsocket violations. I don't want them to be kind of confused with each other. But the biosolids issue and PFAS's impact on disposal is a very, very significant topic that all the states are looking into. We probably have a whole day meeting on just that.
Yeah, thank you. Kate, did you have a comment too or question?
I just wanted to offer to Joe, since he's a South County person, we're in the river in the summertime all the time. If you ever want to check out a couple stretches of the Blackstone, then
Okay.
I take you out. I find that you can really advocate much harder for something when you can say that you've been in the river. And I do think Terry Gray's comments were much stronger at the press conference because we got him in the river last summer. I don't know that he could have claimed that he's paddled any of the Blackstone before then. So just putting that offer out there.
Sure.
And I'll say that Terry wants to get back on the river. Joe, we'd love to get you out there. We hear that a lot. People are like, I've never been on the river before and I want to do it. So, you know, it's not something I always think about when I'm writing grant applications of we're going to put in time so we can all coordinate and paddle together. But honestly, it's super important because, you know, advocates start by being recreation users, right? If you're recreation, then you learn to be a steward and then you learn to be an advocate. And that is the process we always hear. So yeah, thank you, Kate, for that comment. Okay. So anything else before we let Joe go? Again, I really appreciate you taking the time and meeting with us and giving us this comprehensive overview. We will provide all the links to everybody if you don't already have them to the Attorney General's comments and Terry's comments, the lawsuit, the press release, et cetera, and get you all up to speed.
Sure. And thanks again. I am going to drop off, but I did want to say I appreciate all the efforts that everyone on this call make. Like I'm an environmentalist myself, and it's very important to have folks like yourselves advocating. So thanks, and certainly feel free to reach out if you need anything else from me.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so we're pretty on time here. I had built in a lot of time for that conversation. I wasn't sure when I made the agenda at what point we would be in Woonsocket. We didn't have the lawsuit at the point where I wrote this, so I'm really glad that enforcement action has happened, and we were able to, along with many of our partners such as Save the Bay and Friends of the Blackstone, attend that press conference on Wednesday and hear from the AG's office and the director from DEM. So we are on to partner updates. I'm going to give a couple of quick updates and then I'll hand it over to all of you to share. As I mentioned, the collaborative is hiring. We are hiring. We're so excited about this. Please send your wonderful applicants this way. It's basically just to email me and I will, the link is in the link is in the notes, but in the agenda, but I will get this over to you as well. I'll put it in the chat. And as I mentioned, a lot of their work is going to be, oh, sorry, this is a terribly long link. Hopefully that actually works. A lot of their work is going to be around restoration. C.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to mention that our internship program is for the summer is getting ready to start. The term is from June through the end of October. We're expecting the announcement should be coming out fairly soon on Mass Careers. So if there are any students on, or if you're a professor working with students and you want to share that information with your students, that would be great. Also, we are going to be looking for 2 interns to assist with incorporating the bipartisan infrastructure law into our 604B program. So this is separate from our regular summer intern program. We're looking for 2 interns who will help us incorporate the requirements of that law into our 604B program, which includes climate resiliency and environmental justice. That one, the ad should be coming out this week or next week. And it's a shorter term. It's from April until I believe July or August. And both of these internship programs are paid. So.
Thank you. And once you get those links and they are posted, we will share them again.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty?
Just had to unmute myself. Yes, I just want to let you know that we are planning Rivers Day celebration once again in June. It will be Saturday, June 17th. I believe we are planning on having tables like we did last year. So if anyone is interested, I get more details, I'll send out an email to Stephanie, which she can share. And regarding the May 21st, I will inquire in our office. I'm pretty sure maybe Donna would like to have a table. I think I'm actually going to be at the Heritage Corridor table. So, but if, maybe we can share a table at some, because I know we'll be busy with programs on the river on Saturdays starting up in May. So, and just a report too regarding our education programs, they will be starting very soon. Sam, our River Education Director, has been working on new curriculum pieces for the in-classroom in our new upstairs classroom, and also with the Explorer. And I believe we're hiring some new, we are interviewing for deckhands, and she just hired an intern to work with her. So I think there's going to be some good educational programming coming out of our office as well. And if you haven't seen Donna's email, she's been planning walks in each of the communities in Rhode Island, Blackstone River Valley, with cleanups. The dates are posted on, I've been slowly posting them to our event calendar at the Tourism Council. And so you can look for those, but basically they're during the week and in the workday afternoon, so it may not be feasible for some of you to get out there, but you could possibly share. I know I'm doing the Burrowville one on April 6th. So anyway, that's just a little bit about what's happening with Blackstone Valley, but keep on the save the date, June 17th for Rivers Day. I think we did a nice job last year, except for the fact of the Woonsocket treatment plant issue that happened the very same day. But we are doing it the third Saturday, which had been typically the typical date for that. And also, Stephanie, thank you for inviting Joe. I'm glad to get more clarification. It eases my mind a little bit, and I would be interested in helping out and assisting with that committee you're putting together with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program.
I take no credit.
I don't
I'm not
have a
doing
lot
that. I just know that they're working on it.
Yeah, I know I don't have a lot of expertise in that area. I just have a reference point of the river itself. But anyway,
for Rivers Day, is that at Central Falls Landing?
Yes, it will be at
Okay,
Central
great.
Falls Landing. And the other thing we're working on, we're in our office, Natalie, who is our operations manager, has been working on a grant application for accessible kayak to get some kind of equipment to make it easier for those with disabilities or seniors like myself to get in and out of a kayak to get out on the river. I don't know where it stands, but I just thought I'd let you know that that's something we're working on, and hopefully we'll have accessible kayaking available at Central Falls Landing this season.
You are putting in a grant. I'd love to write you a letter of support for that. Just let me know.
Thank you. I will pass that on. Thank you so much.
Heather.
Hi, we are busily getting ready for our water quality monitoring program, which is going to start April 8th. And we're looking for volunteers if anyone would like, all up and down the whole Blackstone. So if anybody's interested in becoming a water quality volunteer, they can contact me. And we have our volunteer recognition and water quality summit on April 1st at the Blackstone Heritage Corridor Visitor Center in Worcester. And it's in the morning, and anybody's welcome to come if they want to see what we're up to. And like we talked about earlier, we've been working on getting our map, clickable map and website up and running. So we're very excited about all the events going on with the VRC. So thanks for having us.
Yeah. And then it's at the Worcester Visitor Center. Is it 8:30 to 10:30? That's what I'd
8:30. I don't know about the ending time yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still
show up at
finalizing
8:30.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Lee.
Thanks, Stephanie. I wanted to introduce my colleague Peter O'Gonick at Horsley Witten. Horsley Witten is working with the Blackstone Parks Conservancy and the Seekonk River Alliance on some items that might be of interest to folks here. So Peter, if you're there and wanted to unmute.
Yes. Oh, hi, everyone. As part of the Blackstone Parks Conservancy, the Seekonk River Alliance is pursuing several SWIG grants through SNEP, watershed improvement grants. These seem to be large pots of money available for watershed improvements. And one of our projects is looking at creating a master plan for the York Pond watershed, which in our area is a significant contributor to sediment and untreated stormwater runoff. So I think what has come up in our discussions is that we would like to at least entertain and look at the idea of a larger collaborative master plan for the Seekonk River Basin as a whole. So we were wondering if there would be any interest in helping with that. I know like our area of knowledge and expertise is the Seekonk River. So we don't necessarily know that the geography or like what would be effective in Blackstone, or if there would be interest in a collaborative effort. So just wanted to pop on and see if there was any interest. I know letters of intent are due April 7th. So we are working on our own efforts as well for that.
Yeah, and I just want to say that, you know, I encourage these guys to share this. I know it's the Seekonk River, but in my opinion, if you took out the dams and if you went back to 1600, it would all be one river. So we technically create these, it's sort of a artificially created watershed boundary, which is a weird one. But I've always said, you know, let's bring in the Seekonk River. We can kind of all be one watershed. And if folks are working in that area, please consider, you know, working with the Blackstone River Conservancy and Horsley Witten, and whether you want to be part of that grant or write a letter of support or whatever it is. If our letter is helpful, we can provide that. Anyone who's working on, you know, watershed-based planning and cleaning up the river, we are all about that for sure. So.
And Peter, real quick, I just wanted to say I'm pretty familiar with York Pond. I've done a couple of field trips there where we've looked at invasive species management. We've looked at the sediment, the defunct sediment catch. It's not a catch basin, but I'm not sure what that structure is called. And so Save the Bay, you know, myself and Wenley Ferguson, if there's anything we can do in helping you to prep the SNEP SWIG grant, I submitted one last year, so I know how much of a heavy lift it can be to get that grant submitted. It certainly wasn't easy. Just, you know, feel free to email us, either one of us, and we're definitely interested in working in this little section of the watershed. There's so much that can be done to get that stormwater into the ground at the top of the hill instead of at the bottom of the hill at York Pond. So we're definitely interested.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Peter, I would concur with the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council. Bob has a great interest in the Seekonk River, Bob Billington. And if you reach out to him, we do have a boat that he would be probably willing to take you on any kind of reconnaissance for the Seekonk. We will have the Explorer out on the Pawtucket Seekonk River early part of our educational season for 2 weeks too, doing some education programs with the Pawtucket schools. So please reach out to Bob or send me an email, Patty at Tour Blackstone, and that's Patty with an I, and I can forward that to Bob. But I know he's very interested in the Seekonk and Pawtucket rivers as well.
And Peter, maybe we can drop your contact information in the chat as well, so folks have access to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great. Thanks, folks. Sarah.
Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to let people know that so the EPA just released a new grant opportunity. It's the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. which will provide grants to states, local governments, and tribes and territories to develop plans for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and harmful air pollution. So CMRPC is going to be looking to apply and spearhead this like regional planning effort for, I think it's like EPA region #1, so like Massachusetts and Connecticut. So we plan on submitting a notice of intent to participate towards the middle of April. So the grant requires letters of commitment. So feel free to email me. I'll drop my email in the chat afterwards. If you would like the template to write a letter of commitment for us, it's pretty short and sweet. And then we're also looking to get a steering committee started soon. And I think that implementation grants will be available at a later date. So feel free to shoot me an email if you're interested in writing a letter of support for that, or if you have any questions on that. And then additionally, we're developing an accessibility and inclusive trails toolkit for like landowners and trail goers to use like for trail auditing. So we're circulating a survey right now that is like asking people to rank what aspects of trails like make them accessible and inclusive. That kind of goes like beyond ADA standards to include like mental accessibility and comfortability, things like that. So I'll drop the link to the survey in the chat after as well. It's free for everybody to take just to get their opinions on some of those comfortability, accessibility, things like that. And then we're also planning to have like a public forum presentation on May 18th at 10 a.m. So feel free to email me if you want more information about that, just to kind of let the stakeholders know where we are in the process for that. And then also let me know if you are a landowner that wants one of your trails to be audited using like the checklist that we end up making, or if you want to be involved in the auditing process itself. But yeah, so I'll drop my email and the link to the survey in the chat, and that's it for now.
Sarah, just to clarify, I didn't catch, sorry, you were applying for what EPA grant?
Yeah, put my notes again. It's the climate pollution reduction grant program.
There are so many EPA grants out right now.
I know.
Great, thank you. So I'll put that in the notes with your contact info. And that public forum on 5/18 is about the trail accessibility toolkit.
Yes, I'll probably have a draft of like the checklist ready for it, and then like people can kind of like comment on it and give their thoughts on it.
Great, thank you. And I don't know if you're already connected. Heidi, I'm going to blank on her name, but there's a wonderful person at Mass Audubon who works on trail accessibility and helped literally write the book on it. She'd be a great contact. Heidi, do you know who I'm thinking of?
I think you're Lucy Lucy Gertz.
Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank
Sarah,
you so
I don't know
much.
if you're connected with her, but she's fantastic.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
We can put her email in the chat.
Thanks, Deb.
Don't we also have a guidebook to building accessible trails, Deb?
I'm not sure.
I
We certainly
think
could.
do.
We have a ton of them around now.
Yeah, I thought we did a guidebook that with like DCR or something. It might be on our website. But
Yeah, Lucy would have it
certainly-
though. So if we can connect you with Lucy, she would be a wonderful resource, Sarah. Yeah. Thanks, Audubon folks.
L. Gertz at massaudubon.org. GERTZ.
Thank you. Ted.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the group an opportunity to take a look at a tool. And I don't know, Stephanie, if you can possibly bring up the virtual cleanup tools, but I'm probably not the best person to describe this, but we have a board member, Joy Trahan-Liptak, and she's been working on kind of a virtual cleanup tools, Blackstone River watershed cleanups, as a way to try to get more people engaged with somewhat less effort. I mean, it's a big deal to try to organize, as all you know, and it's important to do, but trying to organize the cleanup and all the logistics and getting everybody there, it takes a lot. And we've found that as an organization, we are a small nonprofit. There's only so much we can do. So Joy had the idea that we could kind of crowdsource this and put it into the social media world where people can go out and they can identify a trash site. They can kind of organize folks to help them clean it up. And then after they get it cleaned up, they can post and report on what they've done. So it's in a kind of a beta mode. So you'll see that it's kind of there, but there's not as many dots as there should be. And we thought because it is kind of a beta, we weren't really quite ready to launch it with a press release and going public. But we thought within this group, if any of the organizations here wanted to try to use this or tap into it, if you think it's helpful, we'd certainly like some feedback. We'd like people to try it out. You can put it on your phone as well as your desktop or laptop computer. So it's going to be portable. It is portable. It has that capability, and we think it's going to be a worthwhile way to get more cleaning up in and around the waters of the Blackstone. Get that done, and get it visible. Get it reported. So that's kind of the spiel I have for it. If you have questions, Joy is on maternity leave right now, but she does check every so often. And we have a general account for BRWA. It's info@thebrwa.org. And if you send an email to that address and it has anything to do with this, Joy will get it and be able to get back to you and try to help out. So just wanted to call your attention to something that we think is going to be a very useful tool.
Yes, thank you so much for working on this. I'm very excited about it. And it does look like the watershed is, showing both in Mass and Rhode Island, which I appreciate. So I'll also share this with Friends of the Blackstone, who does a lot of cleanups in the Rhode Island side. And maybe we can work together on, having this for both sides of the watershed. I'm very excited about it. I will poke around a bit more and encourage others to poke around a bit more. I can share this link with you, and if you're okay, I might share your email that you sent me with those multiple links.
Yeah,
great. And encourage folks to help with the beta testing. You always need early adopters to figure out the kinks. All right, I'm going to put all that in the chat and have folks follow up, but really excited about that. Thanks. Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to put an event plug out there. So Mass Rivers is going to be hosting an event with Wachusett Brewing Company in Westminster on Earth Day. So that's April 22nd, and it'll be in the afternoon. There'll be live music. So if you like beer and music and want to come hang out with us and celebrate Earth Day, then please join. And there will be more information to come soon. I don't think we've officially broadcasted it yet, but yeah, just wanted to let you all know.
Thank you so much. That sounds fun. And that's a Saturday?
Yes, Saturday. It'll likely be like 3 to 7 or 3 to 8, something like that.
Great, thank you. Heidi.
Thanks. Well, this is late notice for a program that Stephanie and I are doing tomorrow at the Citizen Planner Training Collaborative Conference at Holy Cross in Worcester on planning for climate resilience using local bylaws. But the materials, there's very similar related materials available on the SNP Network website, and we're now just finishing up working with Mass Rivers on supplemental materials that are going to be on their climate resilience page. So I don't know, maybe I can put in the chat a couple of links. Yeah, and Stephanie, I don't know if you're able after this meeting to connect quickly with me. That'd be great.
Yes. I have a 12:15 also though.
Okay, you can do it real quick.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I'm going through the chat here. Okay, Save the Bay uses Water Reporter I don't know that one, but I'll share that. Maybe we can learn some best practices from another group. Sounds fun. Thank you, Sarah. You put that link in there. And yeah, Bryce, I was going to ask you about that if you wanted to bring up your work with Liz, because that seems like a really good connection as well. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that work?
Just I'm just starting to develop that collaboration, so probably not much to say about that, but yeah, just in terms of the Seekonk River work, yeah, I mean, a lot of my practice is around public space and cultural ethnography of public space and thinking about access and belonging in that context. So there's a lot of folks working in that space that I think are slightly differently framed than a typical planning conversation. But yeah, I think a lot of opportunity to think together, Sarah and others that are working on those kinds of questions. So I'd love to participate in various ways around those sorts of questions and bring the ethnographic perspective to bear.
Thank you so much. Yeah, excited about learning more about that. Great. All right, I'm trying to get all my notes in here. Does anyone have other, Sarah, I don't know if you meant to share your Clark email address or if you meant it to be CMRPC.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll put my other one.
I was like, wait, Clark, you. I mean, I'm glad you're another Clarkie though.
Yeah. Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll change that contact info in the notes. Okay, and then the last couple of things, I know we're getting to the end of our time here. So the collaborative is also going to be applying to that SNAP Watershed Implementation Grant Program, the SWIG. So it's a two-step process. It's a letter of interest first, and then an invitation to apply for a full grant later. So we'll be putting in the letter of interest by April 7th, and I'm still getting everything together on that, but it's going to be about restoration, and that will look for some capacity funding to just continue hosting the collaborative and having my position in this new coordinator position, having these monthly meetings to share all this information about everything that goes on in the watershed, as well as specifically looking at numerous areas for identifying priority projects and assisting communities to apply for DER priority project status, as well as culvert replacement or dam removal or whatever the appropriate grant applications are to get those moving forward on restoration. We also will put in funding to work with graduate students. Those do not have to be Clark graduate students. They can be any students to work on some internships and help identify specifically areas of riverine wetland restoration and access. Access is a big one as well. So if anyone is interested in working with me on that, I know I'm working with Friends of the Blackstone, and they'll be providing a letter of commitment. They're not looking for general off-budget letters of support for this grant application, but if you are specifically written in and have funding in the budget, whether it's match or funding from SWIG, then we'd be looking for a letter of commitment. So if folks want to join in on that or think your work overlaps and we should be writing you in, please let me know as I develop that in the next few weeks. We also were interested in applying for the EPA EJ Collaborative Problem Solving Grant. This one's a little bit more of a lift. As anyone who's applied for EPA grants knows, it's not a two-step process. It's a full grant application and it's due the 14th of April. I'm hoping to get this together. I'm not totally sure it's going to happen, but we're very interested in that. And also, I just wanted to let everybody know that I know we've shared a lot of grant application opportunities from NIFWF, the National Wildlife Federation, whatever NIFWF stands for. I'm not getting it off the top of my head right now. NFWF. They have
National Fish and Wildlife. I think it's National Fish and Wildlife Foundation.
Federation Foundation. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. They have the Coastal Resilience Fund, which is a fantastic grant program, but it actually excludes Blackstone Watershed. They just cut us out. I was confused by this because I feel like we are a coastal watershed. We are part of the Narragansett Bay watershed. We've gotten funding from other federal sources that see us as coastal, including SNAP. So I've contacted them a couple times now and said that I think, you know, we should be part of this watershed and our organization should be eligible to apply. So I'm waiting to hear back confirmation. What they basically said so far is that you are allowed to apply, but you have to make the case of why you should be considered a coastal watershed and why the work that you're doing within your watershed affects coastal habitat and water quality. So I think we can make that case, but just so you know, I'm working on that, and I would encourage folks who are interested in applying for that letter of interest. It's again a two-step process due in April. I'm not sure of the date. Let me know and we can work together on that one. And it has.
Stephanie, can I ask quickly, who is the NIFWIF contact for that grant?
So I have spoken to the two Throw environmental folks, Sarah and Kim, and then they advised that I speak to, I think it's Valerie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're still determining exactly what that application would look like and if I have time to do it. Really looking for that second person. So I have some grant assistance on putting in applications. It's a lot to do yourself. Okay, and then I mentioned previously, we would love to get a 604B grant in for this watershed. So Sarah, I'll be following up with you at CMRPC and others. And I think that's all I have. Any other updates that folks have? Okay, well, we are going to give you 6 minutes back. Hooray, hooray. I hope you use it for extra time at lunch. Happy St. Patrick's Day to anyone that does St. Patrick's Day. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And for those of you who will be at the Citizen Planner Training Collaborative Conference tomorrow, I'll see you there. I think our talks, Heidi, is first thing in the morning. So we'll have the Assistant Governor there and we're looking forward to seeing you, or Lieutenant Governor. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
I was going to stop recording